Yeah, that's gotta be bad. That's pretty bad too, right?
I'd love to see him with
Gotta
a
go
monk.
for the monk cut.
Maybe he'll just like bald.
What?
Yeah, if you give him a monk cut and he wears a hat,
Because he
he's
got
just
how
bald.
coverage.
Yeah,
Because he
most
has
of
blonde
it
hair. He's gonna look bald.
Okay, so the book calls these reciprocal functions. You guys know what reciprocal means?
Not exactly.
Opposite. Yeah, flip it.
Flip it, yeah.
That's what I said.
So instead of like y equals x, it's like y equals 1 over x. The x is in the denominator. That's what makes these special. If I had never graphed one of these before, how do I figure out what the graph looks like?
By doing
Yeah, make the xy table, right? Okay, what should I plug in over here? Well, we'll talk about that later. Let's just plug in some random stuff. If I plugged in negative 3 for x, what would the function value equal?
1/3.
Negative 1/3, negative 2 would be negative 1/2. 1. What if I plug in 0?
0.
1? Yeah, undefined, doesn't work. Cannot divide by 0, right? Okay, if I plug in 1, 1. If I plug in 2, it's 1/2, 1/3. Actually, I just remembered this. Oh, I forget. Let's plug in 1/2, negative 1/2. If I plug in 1/2, 1 divided by 1/2,
Yeah.
no, it is 1 times 2. So it's actually going to be a 2. If I plug in negative 1/2, it's just going to be negative 2. Anyway, so let's see what this looks like. Negative 3, negative 1/3. Right? Negative 2, negative 1/2. Negative 1, negative 1. Negative 1/2, negative 2. If I did like negative 1/3, it'd be like negative 3. Anyways, and then on the other side, kind of. So we got 1, 1, 2, 1/2, 3, 1/3, 1/2, 2. If I did 1/3, it'd be 3. Okay, you guys see what the shape is looking like?
I don't know what to call it.
A butterfly.
A baseball?
Yeah.
Baseball? Yeah, I never thought of it like that. Yeah, kind of like, you guys remember the exponential functions we did? Look kind of like that. Or 1/2 to the x would look like this. Kind of like, over there like that. Yeah, so it's kind of looks like that. So when the x is in the denominator, you get this shape. Do you guys remember, I mentioned this once, the word asymptotes?
And then we're like almost touches.
You're right. There are some invisible lines that these curves approach, but they never touch. You guys see where they would be?
Yes.
I like 40% believe you.
A line's on the board.
Do baby blue.
Come on now. Baby blue. All right, now, you guys see where they are? One of them's right here. It's the x-axis. Just had a country song go through my head when you said that. It's not touching the x-axis. Do you guys know what the equation for the x-axis would be?
Y equals 0.
0. Because all the... Say it right after I read it. Way to go. All the y values on this line are 0. So this would be y equals 1, y equals 2, y equals 3, y equals negative 1, so on. So the x-axis, the equation for the x-axis is y equals 0. Also, that's called the horizontal asymptote. And there's also a vertical one. Do you guys see this one? It happens to be the y-axis. And it approaches, it will never get there. Because there are no x values, there's no value at 0. Nothing works when you plug in 0. The reason there is no point at y equals 0 is because there's no way you can make this equal to 0. There's no x value to plug in. You have to make the numerator 0 for that to happen. So anyways, anybody have a guess what the equation for this
X.
Equals 0.
is? X equals 0, yeah. So if you have a vertical line over here, like right one, this would be x equals 1, x equals 2, x equals -1, so on. So this is kind of like the starting basic graph, and then you can shift these graphs around. Let's see if you guys can guess. What will happen to the graph if I do this?
It'll go left 2.
No,
Up.
up 2 is correct. How could we make it go left? How could we make it go left 2?
Put it, yeah, plus 2.
Okay, just directly on the x. You could put parentheses, but that makes it go left 2. What do you think would happen if I did like a 4 up here?
Go 4 times.
4 times steeper.
Yeah, basically. That's like multiplying a function by 4. It would go up faster, yes. So it would look kind of like, oh boy. It would look kind of like this. I don't know. Same thing down here, kind of the same thing. Yeah, it goes up faster or down faster, I guess you could say. All right. What do you think would happen if I put a negative on it?
You would.
Backwards.
No,
Bottom.
upside down. The vertical flip. So like this would be
You should go here.
this, and this would be like this. Yeah, it just switches everything that was a positive y would become a negative y, and vice versa. So yeah. I think that's it for the intro. Asymptotes, horizontal, vertical. All right, number 1. You don't. This is not a graph question, but you can put everything on the graph. Okay, so number 1's asking to identify the asymptotes of each function. So let's start with the horizontal. Well, actually, I don't care. Okay, let's start with the horizontal. Do you guys see the horizontal line that it's not touching on number 1? It's the x-axis again, and what would we call that line? Like, what's the equation for that line? Y equals 0. Okay,
I did the same thing.
I said first.
I said it louder.
what'd you say?
I hate kids.
Don't let Trey discourage you from having a child when you don't. Problem Trey causes a lot. Okay, do you guys see the vertical line? That's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what would it be called?
Y equals 0.
X equals 2. Okay, if you move, if you go to the x-axis to 2, the vertical line through that point, there would be no curve touches that. So x equals 2 is the vertical asymptote. He's angry. Why do I have candy on my...
Yeah, what?
Is that?
There's a little piece of candy on my podium.
Can I eat it?
Who
On
looks...
the floor.
Trying to see who looks guilty here.
It's not in your finger anymore. Come on.
What's your color?
over
It's under
here.
your podium.
It's over here.
It's gone.
No, beep.
What?
Right, Trey,
What
eat
are
it.
you doing?
There's
Trey,
another
eat
one.
it.
There's another one
Trey,
over there.
eat
Beep, beep,
Awesome.
Somebody needs beat.
beep,
And then
beep.
Hotter, hotter.
Hotter.
Smoking. Fire. Lava.
There's another one right next to your foot.
Yeah, there's another one. Hotter.
And
Colder. Ice freezing.
Antarctica cold.
Antarctica. North Pole. Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
Hotter.
Joke's over.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, on number 3, the horizontal asymptote is
Y plus 1.
up 1, right? So it's y equals 1. the vertical asymptote is left 2. So it's x equals -2. Okay, number 5, they're asking the same question, but they are not drawing it for us. I'm not going to draw it either. You guys remember what I said about what the 3 does to the graph?
Steeper.
Yeah. Does it change the asymptotes? No, it doesn't.
Congratulations.
Okay, it does not change the asymptotes. So it's still going to be y equals 0, x equals 0. It's just a little farther off the lines than it would have been. So number 5, y equals 0, x equals 0. Okay, number 7. This one has a -4, x over x plus 7. What's the negative do to the graph? Vertical flip. What's the 4 do?
4 times
Steep. Plus 7.
the right.
Left 7.
Left 7. So it would be kind of like this, but it would be, oh boy, it's coming with.
You don't know any of this.
So
He's casting spell.
It's left 7, so it's like over here. So the, oh, how I did that? Oh, I turned this one too. Anyway, it's this left 7. So the horizontal asymptote would be what?
Y equals 0.
Y equals 0.
X.
The vertical asymptote would be,
X equals 0.
7.
it's over here, so x equals -7.
Oh boy.
The horizontal asymptote only changes when you move the graph up and down.
So the top number doesn't really matter.
Not for asymptotes, no. It would change what the graph looks like, but it's not going to change the asymptotes. So notice that the x equals number is what makes the denominator 0, right? Because nothing can happen at x equals -7. So that's why it's a vertical asymptote. Okay, if there was a number out here, like say a 3, that would move the graph up 3. So the horizontal asymptote would have been y equals 3. So it's kind of like the opposite of this thing is your x, and the same as this one is your y. That makes sense? Okay, number 9. 10 over 3x plus 3 minus 1. Okay, so kind of the question is, what would make the denominator 0? That's going to be our vertical asymptote. So notice we could take a 3 out, right? If I took a 3 out, I'd get x plus 1. So what x value would make the denominator 0? -1. So x cannot equal -1, so that's why it's the vertical asymptote. Okay, what's the horizontal asymptote? Right, this moves the graph down 1, so it's just y equals -1. Okay, number 11 is graphing, and there's a very specific way I want you guys to graph these. Else it won't look very good. So number 11, 1 over x minus 3. Okay, so what is the -3 going to do to the graph? It's going to move it right 3. Okay, what that means is that 3 is basically going to be like the middle of the graph. If I try to plug in 3, what would come out?
0.
No?
No, nothing.
Yeah, no solution. So nothing's actually, that's the vertical asymptote. Nothing's happening at 3, but I need to kind of identify the 3 so I can figure out where the middle of the graph is. Okay, instead of just going like 2, 1, 0, I want you guys, the first number to be a half unit off. So like 2.5 or 2.5. And then 2, and then 1. And same thing going higher, 3.5, 4, 5. This will make the graph look a lot better if we do a half unit. Any questions on that? It's kind of the tricky part. So we need to use 3 for the middle because this graph moves right 3. It's like whatever makes this denominator 0 is going to be the middle. And then instead of just going 2, 1, 0, I want you to do a half unit for your first step. Okay, anyway, if I plug in 1, 1 minus 3 is -2, so this would be -1/2. If I plug in 2, that'd be -1. If I plug in 2.5, be -1/2. 1 divided by -1/2 is -2. If I plug in 3.5, I get 1/2. 1 divided by 1/2 is 2. 4 minus 3 is 1. 5 minus 3 is 2, so this would be 1/2. There's kind of some symmetry here. It won't always look exactly like that. If the graph moves up or down, they won't be identical, but there is some symmetry on this one. So since the graph is moving right 3, you might want your x-axis to look kind of like that. Like the middle of the graph's like right here. So 1, -1/2, 2, -1, 2.5, -2. 3.5, 2, 4, 1, 5, 1/2. All right, you guys see it? Yeah. Disappeared. That's number 11. Number 13. Where is the middle of the graph going to be at on 13? Yep, because 0 is what makes the denominator 0. That's going to be like our vertical asymptote. So if nothing is happening at 0, what other x values do you think I'm going to plug in?
-1. Got the half.
You know what?
And the positive version of those. What's the 6 going to do to the graph? Make it really steep. So, let's see what happens. So if I plug in -2, 6 divided by -2 is -3. If I plug in -1, I get -6, -1/2, -12. And if I plug in 1/2, I get +12, +6. So it's going up to 12 and down to -12. So what should I do about that?
Just make each box 3.
Okay, I'm gonna count by twos.
3.
You need Kleenex. Clean up the mess. Remember when Katie threw up her water all over the thing?
Throw it out, like, spit it out.
Ready last week.
And then she just was like holding it.
It was like 80% saliva.
Gross.
I don't want to talk about it, okay?
Was that last week? Yeah.
That was a couple weeks
It
ago.
was a couple weeks ago.
You don't want to relive that experience.
Yeah, sometimes my gag reflex is just like.
Alright. So -2, -3, where would that be? -2, -3 would be right there, if you're counting by twos. This kind of confuses people. -1, -6, -1/2, -12. Whoops. Two, 3. Not really flattening out quite yet, but. Let's worse at that one. It looks the same as a normal one, just because we're zoomed out like twice as much. It's actually kind of far off the line. They're gonna complain if I. I'm planning on, our next test will be like right before the end of the quarter. Are you guys doing your, history trip over spring break?
No, that's in a month.
It's in a month.
Ours is in
When's spring break?
spring breaks
Next week.
next week.
Next Thursday.
It starts next Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, here we go. 15. That's more.
nice. What?
Nice.
You said
I
that.
didn't know.
I can tell.
Can we get some snow nets on too?
Yeah, that's why
That's all we get on Thursday.
That's why.
Oh boy.
Thursday.
Well, juniors and seniors are going on their trip, like leaving Thursday, so it was a good day for, yeah.
Can you spell?
Do we have a whole week off or is it only half a week off?
No, it's.
We got a week and a half off.
You have a week and.
Ah.
Week and a half.
If you ever had an original thought. Sorry.
You ever used your brain?
Who has the brain cell?
Okay, where's the middle of this graph gonna be?
We just using the breaks.
I don't like that joke.
You guys know where the middle of the graph is?
0.
0, because that makes that the denominator 0, and up 5, right? So when we graph our x-axis, you might want to put it down here since the middle of the graph is like up 5. So 0 is the middle. So I'm going to basically use the same x values as the last time. Because 0 is the middle again. You guys know what, remember what the negative is going to do to it? Vertical flip. So if I plug in -2, I get 1/2 plus 5, 5.5. If I plug in -1, I get 1 plus 5 is 6. -1/2, 2 plus 5 is 7.
Why is it so fast? You said that so fast.
I'm impatient. I'm just plugging stuff in. You guys know how to do it, so there's no big reason for me to talk slowly. -1 divided by half is -2 plus 5 is 3. -1 plus is 4. -1 half plus 5 is 4.5. Okay, -2, 5.5, 2, 3, 4, 5. -1, 6. -1 half, 7. One half, 3. 1, 4. 2, 4.5. Alright, you guys see what's happening? Yeah. Why am I worse at this?
Where'd it go?
Buggy. Alright. Try this way. There's better. Hard to get it just right. So the graph has moved up 5 and it's vertically flipped because this one is usually on the bottom and this one's usually on the top. Alright, last one of the odds. 17. Where is the middle of number 17 going to be? It's going to be where?
2.
-2.
-2.
Hold on, why -2?
It would make it negative.
That would make the denominator 0. So -2s are like our vertical asymptote. So what am I going to plug in? What's smaller than -2? -2.5, -3, -4. And what's bigger than -2? -1.5, -1, 0. So since it's shifting left to, you might want to put your y-axis a little bit to the right. Okay, if I plug in -4, I get -2, 2 over -2 is -1, -3 is -2, 2.5 is -1/2 is -4. Plug in -1/2, I get 1/2 is 4, 2 and 1. So anyway, I think our test will be like next. I told the other class Tuesday because if I give them a test on Wednesday, they probably won't get it done after chapel. So it might be Tuesday for you guys unless we push it back to Wednesday.
We could push ours back to Wednesday. We don't have the chapel problem.
We don't have what?
The chapel problem?
And I give the other class a free day on
What's the
Wednesday.
chapel next Wednesday? There's chapel next
That's
Wednesday.
what you feel.
Never mind. We don't chapel problem.
They don't have enough